Horus Lubercal is dead, killed by his father in a final, desperate act upon the bridge of the vengeful spirit. The Emperor is entombed on the Golden Throne. Humanity cries out for him to lead them through the darkness, but the master of mankind remains silent. The Space Marine legions, once mighty enough to conquer the stars, are shattered and leaderless. Those who survive run for their lives, seeking to escape retribution. Already they turn on each other. The Imperium's fate is just as uncertain. The Brotherhood of Primarchs, first broken by Horus, begins to fracture further. Some wish for unity, while others hunger for vengeance at any cost. While in the shadowed chambers of the Imperial Palace, a more insidious threat to the Astartes grows. Humanity, wary of transhuman war, dares to dream of a galaxy without space marines. It is a time of reckoning. The glories of the Great Crusade have been extinguished by the treachery of the Horus heresy. Ashes of the Imperial dream are all that remain. The Scouring has begun. Welcome, I'm the Blissful Crusader, and today we're going to talk about the Scouring. I want to start today with the Ashes of the Imperium book, the latest book and the first book in the Scouring series. The new grand narrative being released by Black Library. We're going to have so many future points to talk about. These books are going to link into 40k and 30k, and we're just going to have so many answers, so many stories, and we've got so much to go over today. This book is vast. There are so many characters, way too many that we could actually get through in detail in each. So I'm going to be leaving the Imperial Palace scenes and the scheming between them to another video. We're going to start today with the Primarchs. There are a lot of Primarchs in this novel. This is the most Primarchs I think ever to be together written down in one novel. It's a lot to get through, but there's two main Primarchs this book focuses on. Roboute Guilliman, the Avenging Sun, the saviour of Terra, landing with his innumerable fleet of Ultramarines, just all looking the same, all looking extra blue. And on the other side, the opposite side of the coin in this novel, we have Rogal Dawn. Rogal Dawn is the stalwart defender, the Praetorian of Terra, and he is a broken man with a broken legion in a really bad position, in disagreements with his Avenging Sun brother. And that's the main overarching story of this book. It is where all of the conflicts are coming across, and it's why we're going to see other characters doing what they're doing, trying to manipulate and move everyone, because this is where it is. With the Emperor gone, the power vacuum's there, and everyone's scrabbling to get their share of power. Whereas Dawn isn't really scrabbling to get power, he just wants revenge. He wants to crusade against the traitors who have caused so much pain, and his blood is boiling. Dawn is not the same Dawn we saw at the Siege of Terra. Dawn has changed. He has gone through a great character change, and when he placed the Emperor upon the Golden Throne, it is a breaking moment for him, a moment where he feels like there wasn't enough done, and that he's resentful to so much around him, especially Roboute Guilliman. And obviously Roboute Guilliman has landed, and with his power he brings food and supplies for the masses, which is the more powerful than bullets and legionaries at this point. But he's also brought the greatest legion in the whole of the galaxy. So he has got all of the power, but none of the renown, none of that respect which Rogal Dawn has. And we really see that from the front cover of the Ashes Imperium book, where Rogal Dawn's armor is just shattered and decimated, and you can just see the war and the turmoil, scratches probably still from his body from when he was fighting across all of the walls in his Imperial Palace when he was defending for his father. And you see Roboute Guilliman, pristine, clean. That is the divide we see in this book. You can tell this is gonna only play in harder, and it's Rogal Dawn himself talking about how Roboute Guilliman is going to be coming for your legions. He says this to the Wolf and the Lion in one of their meetings, and it rings true because he does. In the Scouring series, we will see the second founding, and we will see that where the legions are broken up. Rogal Dawn doesn't want this, and you can tell. Words about Imperial Secundus are starting to rise, starting to get out. You see the Lion at one point a bit angry at Rogal Dawn, but it's all blown on the rugs by two Primarchs you wouldn't expect to have changed so much. But this is the main viewpoints from both of the Primarchs. You've got Roboute Guilliman, who believes the legions, or what's left of the loyalist legions, should push for Luna and Mars, reconquer, retake the forges of Mars, and rebuild the soul system, to stand, get up on their feet and stand. There are a lot of hidden door stuff to Gilliman's positions, like the Sisters of Silence and Soul to the Golden Throne, but that is one of the things we will get into in its own video. There is a lot of tension in this book, and Rogel Dawn's complete opposition to Gilliman's opinion is the main thing. Rogel does not want to wait. Rogel doesn't care about Mars, doesn't care about their forges. He cares about killing traitors, much like his son, Sigismund, who we will get into later. He wants to start the Great Crusade again. He feels like he has failed his father, and he wishes to push back into the Sol system, push the traitors past Sol system, and push them out of the galaxy as a whole. He wishes to purge the unclean, purge the traitor for as long as possible. You can see it is it's all any of the survivors wants. Vulcan wants it, Rogel Dawn wants it, Lieben Russ wants it, the Lion, they all want it, but the only reason they're not getting it is because the humanity is back. And humanity is a real thorn in the side to Rogel Dawn throughout this book. And it is saying what we will definitely be covering when we talk about the politics of this whole situation in depth about the Imperial Palace. We're going to move on to the rest of the Primarchs. There are another 4 Primarchs in this novel who are all at that great meeting, because obviously we lost Sanguinius at the end of the Heresy. He's been replaced by Raldoron. There's not much Blood Angels stuff in this. There's a few scenes, mainly where we see them being quite reserved, and they've definitely changed as a legion since losing their Gene Father. Obviously, we know they're scared of bringing on the Black Rage, but no one else sort of knows why they're not themselves, apart from the fact they've lost their Gene Father. But we have Vulcan. Vulcan is out there slaughtering Emperor's children across Terra in brutal ways, because this is where we get a massive description of what we actually see Terra looking like, and it is a mess. Titus Praeto, the chief librarian of the Ultramarines, is out there looking for him, and he sees just depravity. And Vulcan's reason for doing this is the heinous slaughter and sadism they took place in all of the hives around the area. They were what the Emperor's children are. It doesn't describe exactly what is seen in these books, but it does describe that it's terrible and that people don't want to truly say what it is. When Titus Praeto comes across Vulcan, he is having other salamanders luring Emperor's children, of which he would then rip apart with his bare hands. And that is the Vulcan now. Vulcan is enraged at the barbaricness the Emperor's children had beset upon the Terran civilians, and it has enraged him. So he's just killing them like sport. On the other hand, and this is the weird contrast, is the calmest Primarchs, the Leman Russ and the Lion. After the Lion had stabbed Leman Russ, it seemed they had sorted out all of their problems, and they have been sort of a plot device where everyone wants their votes. They've got quite a decent amount of soldiers behind them, a lot of legionaries, a lot more than the Imperial Fists, because they both, yet again, were not a terror. But they are more on Dawn's side with wanting to crusade. They just want to see proof, which is where Archimedes comes in. And Archimedes is going across the whole of the Sol system looking for that proof. But we will get into him just after we speak about the Khan. The Khan is severely wounded, and he is seen when he's coming into the council chamber. He's being carried in by mortals, and the legionaries are helping him into his seat, and he's all frail and injured. He is recovering, but very, very badly wounded from his mortal wounding from Mortarion in the Heresy. This is great just to see so much communication and so many meetings, more than we've ever seen between Primarchs in this book. It's brilliant. But next we're going to get onto Titus Praeto, the chief librarian of the 13th Legion. So Titus Praeto is one of the characters in Ashes of the Imperium. He is the chief librarian of the Ultramarines, who has been severed from the warp. He cannot use his powers because since Horus was defeated by the Emperor, the Chaos Gods are in a shock and a form of recoiling from the Imperium, and this is affecting everyone. Psychers are falling down, holding their heads and screaming. Traitors are falling to their knees and begging for their gods to come back. And Psychers like Titus Praeto cannot use their powers. And it's not only that, it's everything around them. It's when they look at terror and the scenes they would normally always know. it just feels hollow, like the world has lost its edge and its soul, that they can't feel its soul anymore. And it's bothering everyone, and this is why you go back to Dawn and Gilliman and them having their arguments whether the Chaos Gods are dead or not. This is what it leads into. Titus Praeto is a subordinate to Gilliman. He is the son of Gilliman, and he will be telling Gilliman what he is feeling about the severing of the wall. This will definitely be a massive reason why they might believe that the Chaos Gods are dead. Later on, these powers do come back to Titus Proto, why he's in a duel and he gets to fucking just come back as a psyker does. Titus Pareto's chapters give us a unique insight to what Terra looks like after the Siege of Terra. We see Ash is described as he doesn't know how we will ever build on top of it again without the buildings we build sinking back down to the ashes of the old one. He comes across a Ultramarines detachment who ends up telling him where Vulcan is, and they talk about terrible things in Hides which they do not want to speak about. What the sacrilege, what the traitor's done to Terra is unimaginable, and it cannot even be remotely even conceived. Most people just want to block it out or just go mad like Vulcan has, and this is who Titus Proto is out there trying to bring him back to the council. He is going out there trying to look for votes for these councils which are going on in Terra, which are deciding the future of the Imperium. So now we get to Arcamus. Arcamus was leader of the Imperial forces during the end of the Siege of Terra, right at the last gate, right at the Imperial Palace, in the very inner palace. Arcamus was leading that force, while the Emperor, Arcamus's father, and Arcamus's uncles were all on an Abyssis, on the Vengeful Spirit, on the teleportation mission to kill Horus. On the ground was Arcamus. But now that is over and he has been forgotten. You see this in a scene where an Ultramarine doesn't even put together that this guy might be one of the most important people towards the end of the Siege of Terror. It just doesn't put it together because Arcamus was never meant to be that person. So in this book, we see Arcamus going across the Sol system looking for proof that the fact that the Chaos Gods are not dead, because this comes back to the main argument between Dawn and Gilliman, whether the Chaos Gods are dead or not, or destroyed or pushed back. What is it? Dawn believes they are still around and wants to enact a second crusade to ensure their destruction. And to do this, he needs to force Gilliman's hand with proof that the traitors are still in the Sol system and still doing traitorous shit. And that's what he goes out there and tries to do. He travels throughout the system, and at one point we get a really interesting few lines which I want to read quickly. But these lines I feel are a great description for Terra before the siege at the Great Crusade, something we don't really get to see before. And yeah, go. It had become empty, a wasteland, dark and lifeless. The space between the planets in the Sol system had always been crowded. Merchant shipping had plied the void lanes in long convoys. Defence stations studded the abyss like jewels, each home to thousands of inhabitants. Terran captains had often jested that the throne world had become so overpopulated that they spilled out into the void just to get away from one another. And still, the space hadn't been enough. Now, there was nothing. You can really see the horror in this book. Going from the Great Crusade, a civilization so grand and vast that the space itself around it was clogged with so many ships that traffic jams would happen. Like, this is the level we get to. There are so many people that are just piling and pouring off each other, going into the void. And we get to this point now where the Siege of Terror, this apocalyptic event, has scoured the system. It has cleaned it away. It's made it a wasteland where only debris floating in the void is left. That is the set we get from that quote, and I think it's really interesting because we don't get many points from the Great Crusade era. We don't really ever get a view of what Terror could have been like then, and that is amazing. That is, and it's dark, and it really leads into this depressing feeling of loss on both sides during this book. Arcamus after this comes across an asteroid field, and he believes that traitors may be hiding in this asteroid field, attempting rituals or something what could give him a lead in his quest and mission he's been given by Rogel Dawn. But when he lands on these asteroids, it is strange because instead of finding traitors, he finds headless traitors. But instead of finding conflict, he doesn't find any loyalist bodies. Confused, he presses on, trying to work out what has happened here. Yet it eludes him. These headless bodies are floating in the cold, broken, destroyed stations which are built into the asteroid field from long ago mining stations abandoned by Terra's great expansion. But it is swiftly explained why these heads are left there, and it is a grand Imperial fist vessel, barely recognisable from the damage which is over its hull. It is scraped down to its grey undercoat, but it is still going strong. As he docks to it and lands, he walks down a hall, and down the hall is heads of traitors, hundreds of heads adorned as trophies, and skulls for the throne, skulls for the golden throne sort of thing. Hundreds of skulls around this hall. Going to the end where you see a stone throne, and that a stone throne which was described as being potentially so old it could have seen all stages of the heresy. And upon this stone throne is Sigismund himself, the eternal crusader, the champion of the emperor, and he has amazing lines in this bit, some of my favorite lines in the entire book, and we're going to do a whole video just on Sigismund soon, because I feel like he's the namesake of this channel. He's the founder of the Black Templars, and this is what you can see how the Black Templars are who they are today. He talks about if he ever had to go back to Terra, he would put his hands around the neck and squeeze until their eyes burst. About talking about High Lords of Terra and people who would go against his father. He is this ball of anger, and he's talking about chasing traitors down. He's like, we cut them down like dogs, not men, because they were running. Just Sigismund is brutal, and it's everything what Khan would have hated him to become. The emotion is still gone. He is just ready for anger and slaughter. He says to Archamus, he says, tell Rogel, give me the order right now. I'll start the crusade. Just me, just this ship right now. And that is what you want from the Eternal Crusader. So our equivalent in the traitor faction in this book would be Ortag Theokon. He is a warsmith of the Iron Warriors, and we see him right from the very first page of the book talking about running and the fear the traitors are feeling, having to escape the onslaught of loyalists raining down from the sky from the 13th Legion. But Theokon manages to make it off Terra by the help of word bearers, and his major points we're not going to get into too much detail, are only the end of his plotline. But he has multiple attempts to get out of the Sol system at the Mandeville points, but it doesn't work out, and eventually he ends up on a small moon on the outsides of the system. And on this, it is the word bearers are producing a ritual. They have constructed a grand octet on this planet, and they intend to lure the loyalists here to start another battle to reactivate the chaos gods in their grand ritual, as word bearers do. They have been told this by Lorgar, so we know Lorgar's alive in the setting. He's outside the system giving psychic messages somehow through this disabled warp to his men, to his legionaries, to go out and perform this act. The Iron Warriors don't want this. They don't want to be sacrificed in some last-ditch effort for gods they don't like, because Ortag Theokon hates the Chaos Gods. He sees them as consuming. They've taken his calls away from him. They've destroyed his friends and the legions around him. But luckily, the Iron Warriors and his father aren't like that, and they would never fall for chaos ever. That's just not them. So eventually he sends out a beacon to try and contact his father, which does work, and the word bearers, assuming this was the loyalist coming to land and fight him, he's standing there with his Crozius, and he drops it upon seeing who has come for him. Perturabo walks through, bashes the word bearer across the side, sending him flying across the fucking the scene, sending him out of the way, and then the in-awe Ortag Theokon is just like, my father is back, he has returned, and Perturabo has changed since he left Terra. Last time we saw him, he was packing up and flying away from the Siege of Terra, and now he seems to have had a change of heart. Previously hating and resenting chaos, he now is attempting to control it, and he recruits his warsmith he gives him a promotion, says, you survived Terra, you're coming with me. Ortag can't say no. He says this. He has no way to say no to his Primarch. But he disagrees with it and he's disheartened because yet again another character is falling into chaos, believing they can control it like Horus did. Like they all believe they can control it, but really they are serving evil. They are serving. He has a really good understanding of the warp, but we don't see a lot of characters have. He understands what he is talking about, and but he knows he has no choice. But he also talks about how the loyalists are also wishing the Chaos Gods to be back. Everyone wants the Chaos Gods to be back because that is what they are used to now. That is what they work around. They all need it, it seems. It's corrupted everything. And Ortag Theocon hates it, but he has no choice but to follow his Primarch. I feel like we're going to see a lot with this. We're going to see a lot with Perturabo, and they could even do box sets with this. Maybe the Word Bearers and the Iron Legions having a whole head-to-head box set together, or maybe a campaign, because they are opposite ends. You've got the Word Bearers who are fanatic, like heretical cultists, and you've got the Iron Warriors who are like more machine and science and progression. You're going to see them clash because Perturabo's goal is to destroy the disgusting rituals and the word bearers, and he is going to do that across the system as they maneuver. And it's a cool description as Perturabo is using his just immense brain power to just know where to move and how to manipulate and fly around the solar system to avoid any clashing with any loyalist patrols. It's an intense scene. So the Scouring is here, nearly. Archamus never gets that proof he needs, and at the end of it, the Octale on that moon is scoured and turned to dust by Perturabo. So when Dawn and the Lion arrive, they never truly get to see what happened, and they don't be able to bring back the information what could restart the crusade. So that is the Scouring where we're at now with book 1. I intend to go really deep into all of these topics, especially Sigismund and a few other of the characters like the Word Bearers, because I find these the most interesting out of all of the book. So I thank you guys for listening. This is my first ever video. I've never done anything like this before, but the start of a new year and this whole new series, this new narrative, has just got me so excited that I just couldn't hold back, apart from just jumping in and starting a video and telling you guys my passion, which is 40k, and the 30k stories behind it. This is my passion. I love making this, so please like and subscribe, and yeah, have a nice day. Keep crusading.